What is up, guys? Welcome back to the 3 to 7 podcast. On today's episode, you get to hear a full and in-depth recap of our latest advanced Alpine mission with Team Ascension. A lot of lessons learned in this mission and a lot of absolutely hilarious stories. So I hope you enjoy it. Hey, guys, I want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by our hydration partner, HOIST. If you haven't tried HOIST, you're missing out. This is IV level hydration. It's the best hydration product that we have found here at 3 to 7 Project to keep us fueled and hydrated and keep us out there in the heat, especially in these Georgia summers. It is much better than your other hydration electrolyte drinks in that it has clean ingredients. It has everything you need: calcium, potassium, magnesium, sodium. It's got some calories in it, and it tastes absolutely amazing. It's just a well-made product by really awesome people. HOIST is a big supporter of our military. Of course, this stuff is made in America, and it works. It simply works. It tastes great, and it'll keep you moving during your long runs, bike rides, CrossFit workouts. If you're silly and you do CrossFit, you name it, it's going to keep you running. And we love HOIST. We hope you go try them out. Check them out at Get HOIST. Is it what is their website, Blake? I think it's. Let me check there. I'm going to attach it in the show notes of this episode, but let me see what their actual website is. HOIST HOIST. Oh, it's on the bottom. Oh, drinkhoist.com. It's not Get HOIST. Drinkhoist.com. Get you some. You can get a subscription. We have a subscription. They just send it to our house. We also want to let you know HOIST is now available in select Walmart stores. So it's a good place to go pick it up if you don't have time to place your order online and get on that subscription program. So if you see it in Walmart, get you a case, bring it home. You won't be disappointed. Love you guys. Enjoy the episode. Here it is. The old tag office. Oh, they've got us all duped into paying for these tags. And I guess most of you guys will just continue to do it. But I've decided not to do it anymore. And I'm wondering what the repercussions would be. What are the repercussions, Blake?
Ticket.
It's a ticket, huh?
Yeah.
And then if you don't pay the ticket, then they can put a warrant.
Put you in jail.
They put a warrant out for you?
Yeah, if you don't pay the ticket or show up to contest it, then they'll get you for failure to appear for your court date.
Okay.
Well, You've already failed to appear.
When you sign a ticket, basically it's like a bond. You've essentially been arrested, and you sign the ticket, and that's you saying that in lieu of me going to jail for this violation, I'm signing that I will either pay this or show up in court. So You've essentially been arrested, and you're just signing your own bond, saying that you'll do one of the two.
So if you don't sign the ticket, then they'll just they'll take you to jail?
Oh, yeah, you could go to jail if you just say, I'm not going to sign it. I mean, it depends on the cop and how much he wants to push it, but essentially you're saying, no, I'm not going to sign it. So you're saying, well, no, I'm not going to show up in court or pay this ticket. And they'll say, well, I'll just put you in jail and let the judge figure it out.
Why do you guys pay for license plates? Just wondering.
Who's you guys?
It's a serious question. You got good tags on your car, Chili?
Yeah, but I don't pay for them.
Jeff does.
No, he don't either. No, I wouldn't make him do that.
Yeah. Oh, well, Tracy must pay for him then.
I got something worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you give them money and they give you a tag.
Don't think what you want.
Coach Krista, why do you get license plates?
I don't know, I've never really thought about it, but I guess because it's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. What about you, Blake?
I just render to Caesar what's Caesar's.
Have you guys ever seen a movie called The Godfather?
I've heard of it, but I've not watched it.
Oh, it's an epic movie. The Godfather it's pretty violent. It's pretty nasty. But it gives you some insight onto it. It makes you think this is what government is. Our government, they're just a bunch of thugs. They're just a bunch of thugs that have all these daggone ways that they steal from you and I, and the only reason they have the authority to do it is because they control the violence. They control the violence. That's what it all boils down to. Everything boils down to who can control the violence.
You know, I don't consider it theft anymore. It's not. As compliant as everybody is, it ain't stealing. I mean, if you walk up to somebody out on the street at a gas station, you go, "Hey, will you give me $20?" And they hand it to you, you didn't steal from them.
Kind of like the people who have sent money to the scammers on.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's really more of a
on our
scam.
YouTube channel.
Be perfectly honest with you, them scammers ain't stealing money either.
Yeah.
They're going, hey, dummy, will you send me money for this gun I'm not going to send you? And then you send them $150? They did.
Yeah.
The onus is on you, buddy. They just doing business, baby. They're just doing business, baby. You're the one sending them money like a dummy. So
I can't believe people actually sent those scammers money, dude.
I can't either.
It's mind-boggling to me that you would send someone $150 based off of a comment on YouTube. It literally boggles my mind that there are people who would fall for that.
they do.
I'm sorry if you're one of those people and you're listening to the podcast.
No, I ain't sorry.
Just learn from it, all right? There's a learning experience. It cost you $150 to learn this lesson, not to ever send anybody money on the internet.
Yeah, I ain't sorry. I mean,
Yeah, I guess I'm not either.
if you wake up in the morning and put your own clothes on, you should know better. So,
Well, I've got to read y'all something. When you said Godfather, it reminded me. This was a contact form I got
oh boy,
on email. Have you seen it?
I don't know.
It says, I won't say his name. It says, "Hello, I'm a 24-year-old male who wants Chad to be my godfather.
Oh, wow.
I have to get married through Catholic Church first, then I'll be confirmed. But I haven't been able to think of anyone in my family to fit this role. I live in Nebraska, and this is not a joke." So, when you brought up Godfather, it made me think.
Well, look, what I need for this to actually work, I need you guys to buy me a big golden ring. All right?
for the pinky.
Yes, and I need you guys to get me a nice suit and also a bigger, fancier leather chair in this office. And then these people that want me to be their godfather, they can come in. They can come meet me here, and I'll have conversation with them, and they can kiss my ring, and then I'll tell them, okay, now you're under my protection, but there's going to be a day where I'm going to ask you to do a service for me. There's going to be a day. Just be ready when that day comes. And
What is a godfather?
I don't think
I'm
that's
totally
the
fine
kind of
with that.
Godfather he's talking about.
Now, the Godfather's thing was the way he got his way. When something needed to be done, or he needed to do something for one of his godchildren, right, that had pledged allegiance to him and his family, he would always just say, "Don't worry, I'll get it done. I'm going to make them an offer they can't refuse." And that's what he did. That's how he controlled things. That's how the government controls us. That's what I'm saying. They're just thugs. They're saying, "No, you're going to do this because I'm going to make you an offer that you can't refuse." That's how they get their way. They're just freaking gangsters and thugs, man. Anyways, I love The Godfather. The Godfather, the movie, is just such a masterpiece.
I've not seen it. Have y'all?
Chris has
I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah, it's even if you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. And if you have already watched it, you ought to watch it again.
Is it like where's it based at?
It is
Like, it's not an American movie, right?
Yeah. It's an American movie, but these are like there's 5 families in the city. It's up in around New York and all that. Kind of
about the mob and stuff.
kind of back in the the war, like between World War I and II, I think. And yeah, there's 5 families that originated over in Italy, I think, and they've came over here and they control things. They control politicians and police and all this stuff. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
I may have to watch it.
Anyways, now that I'm done with my rant about government being a bunch of freaking thugs that they are,
Make you good offers.
today we're going to talk about, mainly I want to recap the Alpine mission because it was a really epic mission. The team did good. They made some mistakes.
Yeah.
They had one rough day and then they pulled through. Just to explain to you guys that are listening, what is this Alpine Mountaineering mission? Well, we here at 307 Project, part of what we do is we train people. So we have some courses that you can apply for that are kind of, I hate to even call them entry level because they're really legit in-depth courses of instruction called the basic course or the proving grounds. And if you graduate from one of those 2 training pipelines, then every year we usually run 2 advanced missions where we take the students from the graduates from the basic course, the proving grounds. We send everyone that graduated honorably. Not everybody gets an invitation to an advanced mission. Everybody that graduated honorably, we send them an email as an invitation to apply for one of these 2 advanced missions. This year we did the paddle trip on the Altamaha and this Alpine Mountaineering mission. And so they apply, we select out of that group of applicants, and we try to compile the best of the best for these missions because they're extremely difficult. The Altamaha mission was difficult in a sense that it was just super long. You were out there for a long time. And most people had never camped and lived off of a kayak and in that environment. And then the Alpine mission is, the length isn't what makes it long. What makes it hard. What makes the Alpine mission hard is because literally from the first step, you're getting punched in the freaking gut. I mean, it's just sharp, hard, to the point, and there's obviously in the backcountry always real consequences to mistakes. But in this environment, when we go way up into that alpine environment, the cost of making a mistake can mean life or death. So you have a much higher risk involved in the Alpine mission. And that ends up becoming one of the biggest challenges that most people have to figure out how to do. They have to figure out on the Alpine mission how to operate in the presence of fear, because you're going to get a little bit nervous when you get up there. If you're not, then you're probably just chilly. You're brain dead like Chili. He's not nervous at all up there. He just skips around on those rocks and he doesn't give a crap. But most people get up there. I remember the first time me and Chili went up in the alpine environment. I looked at him. I said, man, this is real. We got to be tight up here. And he was like, what are you talking about, man? And so we don't get that a lot in life, where you're in this environment where you're like, oh, man, if I slip, I'm going to die. Wow, that makes me a little afraid. But I still have to keep moving well. I still have to do all these tasks right, even in the midst of this kind of lingering presence of fear caused by the risk that is involved in that area. So that's a grand opportunity. This team, we had 7 team members. We had Holly, Catherine, Dustin, Aaron, Shane,
Dakota,
Who was 7?
Nathan.
And Nathan, LPO. That's exactly right. Yep. Awesome team. They put in a lot of work. Another cool thing about these Alpine missions is when we compile these teams, they don't get a team number. They actually choose their team name. All right. And they know they're chosen for this mission well in advance, usually 5-6 months ahead of time. Which, by the way, while I'm on that topic right there, I like the way you were thinking this morning, Chili, talking about next year, the Run Across America or your Appalachian Trail.
Oh yeah.
Here's the thing, man. I see a lot of people when we send out maybe an invitation for a mission or some type of training or something way in advance like that. People don't want to commit to something that's 5-6 months out. Look, if you can't commit yourself to something that may even be a year in advance, the likelihood of you ever doing anything epic is very, very low. You don't stumble into epic adventures. You don't do really difficult, challenging, complex, life-changing things spur of the moment. It just doesn't happen. You need to understand this. If you want to do something outside of the box that's going to challenge you, that's going to be different, that's going to be complex, you got to be able to look forward even a year in advance and write it down and commit yourself to it. All right? That's just how it is. So these people do that. And then they spend usually 4 to 6 months in advance doing internal calls, planning, developing their roles, responsibilities, all that stuff as a team. And I will check in with them about every month and a half along the way. I'll do a quick call with them, might feed them a little piece of intel or something that helps them kind of plan another phase of their operation, maybe help them iron out some aspects of their roles and responsibilities. But they name their team. This was Team Ascension. They delegate all their roles and responsibilities as far as a medic, an LPO, squad leaders, navigators, communications, all that's intel. They have to fill all these roles. They delegate all that. And so by the time that we show up to actually conduct this mission, these 7 people have been talking to each other and planning for months and months and months. And we show up on site. We all meet the night before the mission, and we have something called an operations order where they, as a team, present their plan. They brief us as instructors. Okay, this is what we're going to do. This is the environment we're in. This is the plan we've made based off the information you've given us. They hit all their roles and responsibilities. And it's a really unique part of the training. And this is done formally. So when we set it up where they get it in front and say who they are and give their piece, right? And then after that, we give them our feedback based off of what they've planned. So I thought their op board was really squared away.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too.
I mean, that's it's you always know. Well, I guess you don't always know, but I knew after their op board that this was going to be a good mission.
Yeah, it kind of tells you how serious they're taking it and how much planning they've put into it. And they had a lot of in-depth things. And, outside of that, many of them spoke well, presented well. And, I think that tells you a lot. Even aside from just what they're going to do on the mission, it tells you how serious they're taking it.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about the next morning. We get up, meet at our primary insert point, and we get right into this thing. What do y'all think about that first day? I think they all extremely underestimated what that altitude and that terrain was going to do to them.
Well, yeah, I think sometimes you feel like if you're pretty prepared, if you're fit, that nothing can go wrong. But I think, that often happens that, yeah, you'll be really fit or whatever, but then the day that you've been waiting for gets here, whether it's a race or a mission like this, and say I don't think anyone was sick really, but say you get sick the day before. I mean, how fit you are doesn't matter. You're about to have a rough time, I think, some of them had stuff unexpected. Who knows what it was, maybe not feeling well, whatever, and just kind of got punched in the mouth.
Well, that terrain will give you all you want from it. I mean, you can push it. It don't matter how fit you are. You can get out there and get on the struggle bus real quick. And old Dustin, he got a little overloaded.
Dustin, I know you're going to listen to this. We might talk a lot about you as we move through this first day.
I feel like we have permission to bring up Dustin's name as much as he likes.
Dustin's going to laugh.
Dude,
yeah.
Dustin was awesome.
He's just going to laugh about it.
I'm glad I got to meet him.
Yeah.
He got, well, and the reason it was odd is because he's really fit. I mean, Dustin's a fit dude. He knows how to move on that terrain. It's just, sometimes it doesn't really matter.
Well,
you can still get to struggling. You have to hit everything has to be right. Nutrition has to be right. Hydration. How have you been sleeping? Like, if some of that's off, well, then you're going to struggle more than you thought you were.
He had quite a load on him, too.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
So the first night after the op-ord, when we were at the Airbnb, I asked them, I said, do you guys want a class just on what to pack for this mission, right? How to pack your gear out. And they said, no, we're good. I said, all right, roger that. And then I got to looking at their bags, and they had umbrellas, and they had all kinds of
cooks.
Big, they had a cook set that I don't even know how to describe it. It was
about the size of that printer, wasn't it?
Yes, it was literally about the size of that freaking printer right there. I mean, this thing was massive, a big double pot cook set, and I just see all kinds of stuff kind of hanging off their bags, and I said, you know what, guys, all right, we're gonna do that class anyways. I know you guys said, but we don't need to bring umbrellas, and they didn't like it that I told them not to bring their umbrellas.
Well, I kept my mouth shut when it was happening. They probably should have pared down the cook set, but I like the umbrellas too.
I like the cook set. That was a nice cook set.
Sometimes you got to have just something up there like a token piece. You know what I mean?
Those were hyperlight umbrellas. Yeah. I mean, they were nice umbrellas.
That's what I'm saying, man.
But yeah,
sunbrellas. They're sunbrellas.
Yeah, they told me, they said, but look, they're really light.
You got space for one token piece, and that was theirs.
Mine was my cigar.
Yep.
We'll get to that later. But like ounces equal pounds, man. When you're at altitude and you're going straight up the side of a freaking mountain range, like I don't even care if it's like tags on your clothing. Like cut all the tags out of all your clothes. Like I learned that. By the way, I'll give a little shout out to the guy that trained me in the backcountry. His name's John Barklow. He has a YouTube channel called Lessons from the Storms. He doesn't get any traction on YouTube. And he's probably one of the best guys in the backcountry that is living. He trained me in the environment in Kodiak, Alaska. And it just pains me to see this guy, like, he's putting out all this great information. And nobody wants to freaking watch him. I think because there again, it goes back to John, if you listen to this, you probably won't ever listen to this, but look, man, people just want to be entertained. Quit telling them stuff that they actually need to know. Just make it look cool, and it can be pointless, but as long as it looks cool, you're going to start getting some traction on there. Then you can kind of feed them little tidbits of good stuff, right? You can sneak the real stuff that they need to know in there. But yeah, John even taught me, cut all the tags out of your freaking clothes, man. And you got a pile of fabric like this, that's a few ounces, and that equals pounds. So we pared their gear down even that first day, but they were still heavy, man. And Dustin had the majority of I don't know how they were all packed, but I know Dustin had that cook kit.
He was their pack mule.
Yeah, he was their pack mule.
Yeah, we're being hard. Y'all are being hard on Dustin. I mean, he had about 100 pounds.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. He was carrying a load.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and then we get going up too, and we had one team member that started struggling with the load that she had on. And what a lot of people don't understand in these missions that we do is everybody's coming. We select teams not based off of people's physical ability. We don't try to line up a bunch of people who are physically the exact same, right? I mean, you're going to have a broad range of physical capability within these teams because it is about the team as a whole moving throughout the course of this mission, and it's not about any single person's physical capability. I like what Aaron Witt said. Aaron said physical fitness is an enabler. And he means that in a way of like it's simply a thing that will enable the team to move further faster. It has nothing to do with you. So then when they transferred, the load off of Holly, I know Dustin took a lot of that in too, and then Shane took a lot of that in. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, old Shane, boy, he got real quiet. Mm-hmm. Shane, what's up, man? You started getting quiet on me, man. And so we had Shane and Dustin that were getting pretty well in the pain cave.
Yeah.
Getting up there to the first water source. And there's only one water source in this area. It's super dry when you get way up high up there. And the water source is about 1.5 miles outside of camp where we actually camp for the first night, the first objective. And so made it to the water source, no drama other than Dustin got to hurting.
Yeah.
Shane got quiet, but he never missed it. He wasn't missing steps
That's
yet.
the thing. It's not really affecting I mean, you're struggling, but nothing's going wrong, I mean, they're holding it together.
Yep.
I mean, I was proud of them.
So we finally get up to our first objective, and we set up camp. They did really good on that.
Yep.
We won't tell. We do something special when we set that camp up. We won't announce that here, but I was really surprised with their ability to overcome the obstacle that we put in front of them. Mm-hmm. And they knocked that out. James taught the climbing class, which was really good, man.
Yeah.
I mean, so James is our co-instructor on this trip specifically because we love James, first and foremost, James Ward. 2, because he is a very knowledgeable technical climber. All right. So he knows how to set ropes and climb rock faces and set anchors and all this stuff. And he taught, every time James teaches that class, I learn something new. We all get to learn how to, construct our Swiss seats and tie all these different knots and set anchors and all this stuff. So
he's really good at teaching that too.
He is.
I mean, my opinion don't count for much, but that
even you learned how to tie a Swiss seat.
That's
Chili.
what I'm saying, man. Like I've had several people try to show me that type of stuff before. I mean, it don't register.
No,
it don't register.
I don't know how you tie your shoes.
But James got it through my head because not only did I figure it out that day, I figured out I still could tie them all the next day.
Yeah.
I mean, James drilled the hole in my head or something.
You actually set the ropes up on the summit.
Eat that.
And then the water debacle happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was freaking piss poor.
And then the water debacle happened. So we get camp set up, right? Well, once you get into camp, you have to have water to cook, mainly to cook. So you can't just use your personal water bottle. So you have to fill these dromedary bags. And sometimes in this area that we're in, sometimes there is a near water source, but it's not very reliable. This time it didn't exist. So I went out with a scouting team. We couldn't find any water in the near source. So that means they had to assemble a team to go backwards 1.5 miles one way. 1.5 miles and probably over 1,000 feet of descent and the same coming back. So 3-mile round trip, 2,000 feet of elevation change. And they have these dromedary bags that they go and fill up. They use for cooking water and stuff like that. And then to top off for the next day, the next portion of the mission, so you don't have to make that trip twice. So Team Ascension takes off with Instructor Chili, and they head on back down to that water source. And this is about, what is this evolution? A 2-hour evolution? 2 or 3 hours?
Well, that's what it ended up being.
I think it's about a 2-hour evolution. By the time you get down there and fill this, then the water source is just a trickle.
That's the problem, man. It takes forever to fill it up.
Yeah. So they take off. I go back into I'm just hanging out, and I walk back over into their camp, and I see a bunch of water bottles laying around that are like half full, and some of them are even like almost empty. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, so I called LPO over. They actually challenged us on this line of thinking.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, so what they had done
Twice.
What they had done is they had tried to calculate how much water they would need to cook that night and then to get them through the next day. Now, that's extremely hard to calculate because you have not only the water you cook with, then you have the water that people have to drink that night. Then you have the water people are going to use in the morning for breakfast to cook with again, for coffee, hydrating, and then you have all the water that the entire team needs to move throughout the day, the next day.
And don't really know what they're doing.
And don't know what they're doing or how far they're going.
Hard to calculate. It's inane.
I think and so I'm like, why are all these empty bottles laying around here? And LPO says, well, we figure we need about this much water to get us through. And so we just sent we sent them down with the dromedary bags and the bottles that we needed, and we're just going to fill those up. And I was like, well, it's a 2 or 3 hour evolution, 3-mile round trip, really hard to get back down and back up from that water source. Don't you think that you would just take every single container that you could possibly muster and that you would just fill them all up? And that way you would have enough water, and then hopefully maybe you have a little bit left over if you're lucky. And I ultimately told him, it's your call. So they had sent 3 team members down, right?
They're the water boys.
To get water. And so then the LPO says, well, Chad's probably right. We probably need to take these other 15 Nalgene bottles down to the water source and fill them up too. So we're going to muster another team to now go down and get water too. Well, a few of their team members were down hard. They had already committed 3, so that left them with how many more?
4.
4 more in camp. 2 of those were down hard. They weren't going to get no water. They needed to rest. And so that left them with only 2 more to bring the rest of the containers down behind the original water crew and get water. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess Instructor Chad is going to be the water instructor for this second water run. So I start headed down with them. And you know, the 2 that are left back up in camp that are down pretty hard, they're in bad shape. Headaches and all this and that. And I got to thinking, man, these joggers shouldn't be, we're just a little over 9,000 feet here. Shouldn't be, altitude sickness. And I asked Catherine, which was on my water team, I said, how many times have you peed today? How many times do you think she peed that day? One time. She had peed one time in like 10 hours. And so then I started realizing, okay, most of them are just dehydrated, is what's going on. And we got down, got back up, and and this was an epic fail.
Well, and then they passed too, right?
Yeah, they passed.
They pass each other.
Yeah.
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 And just
water
high
boys
five.
heading back up, and they were like, we'll see. What was funny is they still were like, why did this other team come down here? They kind of thought it was silly because they thought it was a good idea to only bring, the water that they needed. And I'm just, I passed Chad, and I'm just like, this is unbelievable. And then
A lot of extra work.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, if there's anything that can be said about it, it's that at least they had a plan. Like, at least they got together as a team. They said, this is our plan. It was just two different ideas or plans, and it just comes out of lack of being in the backcountry, I mean, you would say, common sense says that, but then you would also say that, well, they formulated this plan. It just was wrong.
But do you know why they made that plan instead of all the bottles? I mean, because I know why.
Because it was lighter?
Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted to minimize how much weight the original water team had to carry.
Just that's that. If you want to do a calculation, that's a simple calculation right there. Save a few pounds on each of their packs, or have enough water, which is more important. I mean, they were going to be fine with it. Like, it just didn't make any sense.
Don't worry, Team Ascension. We know you guys turned it around after a while. Don't worry, we're gonna get to that. The first day was a little rough.
Well, they're cooking while y'all are gone.
Yeah,
they start.
So Team Ascension had put together a bunch of dehydrated meals.
Nice meals. A nice plan.
Yeah, they had a great plan. So they didn't have to do this. Obviously, we would have provided dehydrated meals to them, but they said, no, we want to handle all of our meals, and we're gonna cook for instructors too. I said, Roger that. All right. We get back up from this water run, and I start hearing rumors that they had somehow ruined their dinner for that night. They only had 2 dinners. So when you ruin an entire dinner, that's a problem. All right? So I'm like, what the heck could they have done? Like, why? What's going to happen here? And I go under the tarp where they're cooking at, and I said, what's going on? Dustin's sitting there, and he's got one of his massive pots, and it's just brimming over with this dang, what was it?
Noodle. It's like
some sort of chili mac, or like.
It was
that his lasagna,
Mexican,
or
no, it's the Mexican
Okay.
thing.
I mean, it's just brimming over with this beautiful looking food, but it's just sitting there. And I'm like, what's going on with that, Dustin? Like, what happened? And he pulls out a pack. It's a silica pack. They use it you put it in dehydrated meals to absorb any moisture that's left in the bag when the bag gets sealed. And he pulls this pack out. It's a big one. He said, well, man, I thought this was seasoning. So their cook got this meal ready, all warmed up, heated up. He cuts off the top of the silica pack.
Seasoning pack.
And pours all of that. What is that stuff, Chili?
It's just hydrated silica.
He pours the silica all over and stirs it into their meal, thinking that it's seasoning.
Well, Holly tastes one of the noodles to see if it's done, and she said, Dustin, this tastes kind of gritty. What's going on with this?
Oh, man.
He tells her, I'll put this seasoning on there. That's when she looks at it. So luckily they didn't all eat it.
Man.
But
So did they have a meal?
okay. Well, they ended up having about a thimble full of food because here's what happened. So then they took their second dinner that they were supposed to eat the next night. They split it in half, and they cooked half of their second dinner.
That's all you can do.
That's all. They had no other choice, and so that night we sit down for evening meeting, and I'm looking around me, and each of them have their bowl, and they've got about
a fist size,
if that
portion.
If they've got about 4 spoonfuls of food in their bowl, and I'm like, okay, well maybe they're just gonna eat this and then go back and get another bowl, and I go and look in the pot because I was gonna get me some of that stuff too. That joker had been scraped clean, son. That was all they had, was just a little thimbleful of food. So at that point, I thought the cank bird started flying, son. The cank bird was flying low. I told Chili and Blake and James, I said, have y'all ever heard of an acronym called CANEX? Cancel exercise.
Oh, man.
Because I'm like, man, Team Ascension, they're pretty beat up. They're dehydrated. Now they're really low on calories. And we ain't even started. Like, we ain't even got to the hard part. And
Oh, man, you don't need to eat out there. We all got plenty of body fat to get through that.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
yeah.
Except for me and Blake. We're pretty low. We're in that elite range. We do performance stuff.
And also because of all this, now us as instructor cadre, we're over there trying to figure out how we're going to ration the food out that we brought. And now, of course, Blake doesn't eat anybody else's food. He eats mushroom risotto from Good to Go. Dehydrates. That's all he eats up there.
I don't count on nobody for my food, and I count on only Blake.
So
Got to be prepared.
James, by the end of the night, he was like, boys, I'm going to be running real low by the end of this trip. And so I always bring enough for me to eat plus 1. So I had enough to compensate for James. We'll talk about what Chili did on night 2. Which by the
Should
way,
be what you did.
while we're talking about Chili got MVI on this trip. Most valuable instructor.
We need to get a plaque made.
Yeah, you got MVI. Most valuable instructor.
I don't know how I pulled that out.
So we thought the cank bird, I heard the cank bird crowing and just trying to cancel this thing, but we got up the next morning, said we're going to give this dang thing a shot anyways. And something happened to Team Ascension overnight. I don't know what it was. I don't know what flipped for them. But, man, when they got up the next morning, and caveat, Team Ascension, you did miss your first timeline.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It wasn't looking good right
Yeah.
off the rip when Nathan came over.
You did miss your first timeline. All right. But after that, after that initial mistake, when they got their packs on and they got ready to go, they were locked on.
Yeah.
They were locked on, squared away.
That whole day was, they operated smooth.
Yep. So
Most of the day. A little bit toward the end, but
we made our way up toward the summit. Now, it's mostly off trail to get up to this summit because once you get above the timberline, it's just boulders and rocks, and you're just kind of picking your route in terrain associating off of the big terrain features around you. And it's slow movement, so it's not that far distance-wise, but it is very slow, deliberate movement, especially as you get closer to the final approach to the summit. And that's when Catherine had her kind of moment. We were probably a half mile from the summit, and we had to stop. I figured this would happen. When that happened, we had to stop for something.
Those people.
Yeah, there were some other people up there or something, and they were coming down, and I it was getting kind of hairy in there at that spot, and I figured now we're gonna stop. They're gonna lose the momentum that they had moving toward this summit, and they're gonna have time to sit and look around them and think about where they're at, and that's when it kind of hit her, and she. I don't want to say she froze up, but she kind of did just for a minute. But she just even out loud said, "Nope, I'm going to make my body go." Like she reeled her mind back in. And in spite of that kind of lingering fear due to kind of the more risky area that we were moving into, she forced her body to get back up and running.
It's pretty incredible, because a lot of people will say that and they might keep moving, but they're just so darn squirrely. You got to say, hey, this ain't going to cut it.
Yeah.
But for her to say that and then actually make her body move forward,
move well,
was pretty incredible, because you could see it on her face that she was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But when she did good.
It was an amazing transformation, and just amazing to witness in real time a person just reel their mind back in and actually continue mission, like see it unfold all in real time.
And that was almost practice for the summit. It's like she got to practice that in a less risky environment and then implement it where it actually mattered, because when we got up there, we had that talk, and we'll probably get into that. But
yeah, we moved up to Summit 1. Any drama to Summit 1, Chili? Chili had taken lead by this point. Once we get up into a certain area, I send Chili out front. He does the route finding from there on.
No, I mean, that's I think we learned a lot from the first one, and we I don't know. I think we have good roles, all of us, because I'm always aware of everything, but I just have a different perspective a little bit. With what y'all had with Catherine, just because she was moving well. Once we got past that, and that's all I'm really paying attention to, because I'm focused on just the route and doing it right and modeling it right, and then helping them that way. And y'all don't need to really be thinking about that. You need to be watching and analyzing the team, and it's good that I don't have to try to do both, and you don't have to try to do both. And so that was just cool. I just thought of that while you were saying that, is I was more focused on that aspect of it, and I don't know, it just allows us to do it a lot better, I think.
That's one of the things I love most about the Alpine trip, is it gives us as a instructor team the ability to model on a high level everything we teach them. Like everything from LPO to squad leaders to people who have specific tasks like Chili's just talking about. It gives us an opportunity to hopefully model all of that well for them, how that actually works. Because when I get up there, I don't really do, when we get up there toward the summit, I don't really do anything. These guys do everything. And I'm just watching the whole picture, right? And if I have suggestions here or there, I'll make a suggestion to them if I see something or whatever. But ultimately, even when I make a suggestion to any of Blake, James, or Chili, I say, this is just my suggestion. Ultimately, it's your call. You're the one that's doing that specific task. And it flows beautifully. We make it to Summit 1, and this is where we go ahead and get our harnesses on. And that was pretty cool. I think, you can make that summit without ropes, but there are a couple moves where if you slipped, you would be donezo. I mean, no chance of survival. And so we decided to go ahead and do the harnesses from there, set a few trunk lines, and I just think it was a cool part to add to the training. It's just another skill that the team got to learn, then implement in a real world environment, and actually have to put trust in it.
Yeah, I mean, there's enough risk there that it makes sense to put it up, but it's not so slack on risk that it's like, oh, this is dumb. I don't even have to pay attention here. It is enough to where you have to pay attention to what you're doing and trust it. And then it shows you how to do everything. It's like, so you're gaining the skill, but then you also have to implement it and see how it works and move and how everything's tied. And when they got there, they all just went ahead and put busted their stuff out, put all their gear on. They were buddy checking each other. You went through and checked everybody. All the knots were right.
They were all good to go too.
Yeah, that was impressive.
Nobody screwed it up. And I think one of Dustin's favorite parts of the mission was there were two other guys up there on Summit 1. Most people that say that they summit this mountain, they go to Summit 1. You can get to Summit 1, and then between Summit 1 and Summit 2, it's only a couple 100 yards, but that's where the real hard part is. So these guys that were up there, they had made it to Summit 1, and they were getting ready to go back down. And Dustin starts tying his Swiss seat on, and those guys said, man, that's a pro move right there.
Oh, yeah, he ate that up.
That was one of Dustin's favorite parts of the mission, man. Yep. I didn't even get to hear that, but and every member of Team Ascension made the Summit 2, the actual summit. We ran this mission last year, and we had 2 team members that did not make the summit. And it was because of many different reasons. You could go back and listen to that episode if you want. I'm sure we recapped it on some other podcast from last year. But, if you would have told me at the end of day 1 when the Cankbird was flying that everyone in Team Ascension was going to make that summit the next day, I would have freaking said you were insane. I would have said there's no way.
Well, I would have said there's several that I'm not going to let even attempt it if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But off the way they were performing.
Yep. Every one of them summited, and every one of them summited strong, too. Like, none of them were even borderline, because we established the precedent right off the bat that at any point in the mission, if any one of us as instructors sees that you are not moving well, and you're making us uncomfortable, we can pull you off. And basically, you're going to have to sit in a safe place until, everybody that can summits, and then we all come down off the mountain together. There wasn't a single person that I looked at, watched, saw, that I was like, if they make one more mistake, they're not going any further. I was super, super proud of them for doing that. That was really cool to get the whole team up there.
Yeah.
And our MVI was up there to greet them.
Mm-hmm.
James wasn't up there.
Get selfies and take pictures and all that. And coming down, a little different route coming down. I'm not going to lie to you, Chili. That daggone spot on the route down was
from 2 years ago.
Remember that one spot where I called ahead, and I said, "Can we go this way?" And you were like, "Well, we can go that way, but we
that
can."
Was James that said that.
Yeah, but we can. And then I was like, "Is this even passable?" Because I'm looking down, and from where I'm at, it looks like a sheer drop straight down, and that's where Chili's going.
To me, that's the best way.
I thought that. Yeah, I mean,
because it's really not you from where you were at. You were way far behind me, so you only saw like that's a sheer drop off. But really, it's a it's like a step down ladder.
Yep.
I mean, that's why I went that way, because it's the most direct route. The other way, you have to go around, and unless I'm just crazy, which could be, there's a point it's about the same when you go the other way. So
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, yeah, this is right. I mean, but it's steep.
When I got up there to it, I've got that on video. I'll post that on Instagram.
It's certainly steep.
When I got to it and could actually see it, I realized, okay, it's stepped to where you can't actually get down this. But looking at it from above, it looked impassable. Yeah. And I thought my MVI was about to take us off a dang cliff.
I killed a shrew on that little step down too. Nobody gave me any credit for that.
I did.
I don't need credit. Like almost stepped on it. I had him just laying there across a rock with his neck snapped.
You should have brought it back into camp. We could have fried that thing up, man.
I almost stepped on that shrew with my shoe.
They needed some more victuals.
Yeah, we needed some more victuals in instructor camp.
Who's we? Me and Blake didn't.
Oh, man. So navigating back, it's a pretty tricky little nav to go back, because when you're going back, you're kind of skirting a big terrain feature on your right-hand side. And the way the land lays in there, you obviously naturally want to keep going down. Your body wants to go downhill, right? Well, there's a point on this route navving back where if you drop down too low, you can't really get back up to take the actual route, and you get sucked down into this big bowl. And so we had to pimp them a few times, but navigators did great. They stayed locked on. They actually found a little watering hole on the way back. That was pretty cool. It was just a big kind of hollowed out spot in the rock where water had collected, and they filtered their water out of there. And
good decision to do that.
Yeah,
too.
They all topped up on water, and we got moving again. And now there was a point where on that nav back, now it's getting late into the day. You've had all this adrenaline going. You've made the summit. You've hit your objective. And now you're just grinding it out, trying to get back, but you're still moving across really, really hairy terrain. And so you can never turn off. And there was a point where they did get a little fatigued. I think that the fatigue started to creep in, and their command structure began to break down. One of their navigators pushed too far up, got out of sight of the rest of the team. They lost eyes on. They didn't know where he went. And I had a little talk with their leadership team, and then they reeled it right back in and finished strong.
Yeah.
They finished strong.
Yeah.
Back down into base camp.
Yeah.
They finished strong down into base camp. I mean, that's
what happened that night?
I mean, the biggest thing I remember that night or that evening.
Well, they went to get water.
Yeah. I mean,
again.
Seems like something. Maybe that was it, just going to get water again.
Yeah. And then when you got back up.
Water boys.
When you got back up and Chad had told him, hey, my instructor here.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, I didn't mean that, but.
Yeah, there's a few things happened that evening. Yeah, and Dustin went down and got water that evening. Yep. He had come back from the dead, son. Yep. That jugger was back on top.
Yeah. We had to split time. We watched some mule deer on the hill.
Yep. And they got back up, and they were getting ready to eat dinner. And old Chili boy, he was thin on food. I'm talking about this jugger was thin.
Says who?
And you got to think, he's worked harder than any of us as instructors, because he just went down to get water again.
He don't know what I had.
He just did all that we just did, and then he just volunteered to go get water again, even though I tried to do it and he wouldn't let me do it. And so he gets back up, and they say, all right, dinner's ready. And I said, all right, y'all save some of that dinner for Instructor Chili. He's going to get a pull off of that.
And Chili said, "What?"
This is the only demerit Chili gets from the entire trip. He was insubordinate. He got a violation for insubordination in that moment because he refused to eat any of the food that I had told them to save for him.
You'll learn one day.
Also, a borderline demerit that Chili got was we had went down in town before we stepped off on a mission and got these 2 very expensive cigars. And that's a whole story in and of itself. But I said, all right, when we get done with this summit, we get back into camp, we're going to smoke these cigars. And so we did. And we get into camp, and I lit my cigar up and started smoking it, and Chili refused to smoke his cigar with me. So I sat on a log and smoked my cigar by myself as a job well done while they did whatever they were doing. That was freaking bull crap, man.
You didn't ask me to.
Bull crap, man.
He did.
I told you to light that cigar up, and you were like, oh, the paper's peeling off of it.
Yeah, man.
I seen him over there behind his tent too, and he was peeling that paper off so he could use that ass stick.
Oh, that's bullcrap. You're freaking full of crap, Blake.
I know why Chili didn't smoke that cigar, because he wants to be able to say, I've never smoked before. And if he would have smoked that cigar, he would no longer be able to say that. That's how his mind ticks.
I don't want to be able to say that. I've never said I've never smoked before. When have I ever said that? I've said I've never drank before. Drank alcohol.
You will take a smoke, won't you?
Now I will start the bass on you.
So
I won't take a drink, but
Yeah.
I will.
You still chew on that cigar at night, don't you?
Look, man, I think I wanted that for a different reason than you wanted it. I took me a picture with it at the summit, and I'm still getting draws off of it at home. You got rid of it all in one little trip.
no, I actually smoked that thing for the next 5 days every day at lunch.
Golly.
Chili goes home and he puts that suit on and he walks around his house with that cigar and he said, "Hey Jeff, you gonna get my tag today? Jeff, you got that money from my tag?"
Luckily, he ain't got to do that.
Oh my gosh. So day 3, they were so locked on by day 3 that they didn't even really need us anymore, which is the ultimate objective every time we take a team out. And they executed perfectly on day 3, moving down to their extract point. No drama there. They made my life easy. All our lives easy. We actually got to kind of integrate and have some good conversation with them on the way down, because we weren't consumed with critiquing mistakes or anything like that. And that was the end of the mission. And I think one of the biggest points of feedback that most of them had was, man, we wish it was longer. But for me as an instructor, I feel like once they reach a certain point as a team, that's it doesn't need to be any longer, because I can just keep throwing stuff at them and we can keep making it hard and we can keep going into hard places, but they've reached a point where they're just going to get it done. Because once everything starts operating the way it's supposed to operate within the team and they've got everything figured out, that's mission accomplished for me.
Yeah, once they come to a point where they can say, all right, here's a problem. Let's come together as a team and figure out how to solve the problem. That's what we want to achieve. And once they can do that effectively, then you're just throwing problems at them. It's like, you know how to do simple addition, and you just keep throwing, and they're just spitting out answers. And it's like, well, okay, let's now go do your own stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And I understand their yearning for it to be longer, because they're like, man, okay, now we know what this feels like to operate at this level. man, now I wanna do this for a little while. Like I want to do it right for a little while because it feels good. But we had to mule deer hunt. We had to take a mule deer hunt.
Oh, we forgot about you getting them to fill up y'all's water for you that night before.
Oh no, that was an accident. That really was. We're not smart
Yeah,
enough
it
to think
was.
that too far ahead. So
It was funny though that it happened that way.
yeah. So me and James just left our tents and all, most of our gear up there and went down to the extract. Mission complete. Good job, Team Ascension.
Yeah,
Complete success.
Yeah.
for sure.
You guys were awesome. If not one of my favorite teams that I've ever trained before. And we went and got a little Mexican.
Well, this is when I got my other. I really had one full demerit, and then I had a half, and then I had another half. This is where I got my second half demerit.
Were you suit snack?
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
bad.
you got
We couldn't. We had to go eat before we could fix that.
That whole ride to the Mexican restaurant was just all anger.
bad. Yeah.
It was just an angry ride.
Why was it angry?
Well,
Chad's a very angry
Well,
person.
Chad
No.
pissed me off.
I said, we're going to go eat. And so I had flown out here and I knew I was going to hunt afterwards. But the way I roll, I hadn't booked a flight home. I said, I'll figure out, I'll book a flight home whenever I get ready to come home. So we finally get some cell phone service. We're riding to Mexican house. Well, Chili's travel suit had been left at the place where we were storing gear. Mm-hmm. And he said, we got to go get my travel suit. I said, no, we're going to eat. And you can get your travel suit later on your own time. And that freaking pissed him off big time. So he just shut down. He didn't say another word the whole drive.
You know what? It didn't piss me off that we had to delay to get it. It pissed me off how you spoke to me.
Okay. Yeah,
Yep.
he shut down. And then I'm looking at flights and I'm like, okay, we'll fly back, whatever night and get back in about 11 o'clock. And I'm like, Blake, you're going to have to pick me up. And,
Well, no, you didn't say that. You was just booking your flights. Before we had left, I said, do we need to take two vehicles? Because you're coming back at a separate time. And he said, well, if you don't want to come get me. And I said, well, if James, you're both flying back. If he can bring you halfway up the interstate, I'll come meet you and get you. Well, naturally, he hasn't mentioned any of that to James. It's the first James has heard of this. Well, I don't know. I was just going to Uber home. And Chad said, I'm not Ubering. And
That's how he rolls, Blake.
So he says,
How he
well,
rolls.
I'm going to book this flight, and we're going to be coming in about 11 o'clock at night. And I got to thinking, he's thinking I'm going to come pick him up. And I said, I don't know how you going to be getting home because I ain't coming down there at 11 o'clock. And I had him over the barrel.
You should have
Usually,
just said, you're going to have to figure that out on your own time.
I had him
Negative.
over the barrel, boy. It made him mad. And then he said, man, that's bull crap, man. That hurts. That is bull crap. So then it made me mad that he was just expecting that I would just be at his beck and call to come get him whenever.
this was a work trip, man.
Yeah.
This mule deer hunt was a business trip.
He
And-
spun it off of that to try to rope me into this.
Look, are you going to make a video out of that mule deer hunt?
Yeah, man, I'm only one man. I do everything around here on the computer. I ain't got time to do Ultima Hall and the mule deer, and I'm trying to get y'all's tennis video done.
So I filmed this mule deer hunt for y'all.
Well, I bet it's exciting.
Me and James filmed this mule deer hunt for y'all. See, this was a work trip. I wasn't out there hunting because I like to hunt. I was trying to put together a good film for y'all.
A lot of action.
Yeah.
I could have got more action out of my 30-minute hunt in the backyard here.
Hey, you drew blood.
And so I was really hurt that I was out on a work trip and my business partner literally would refuse to pick me up from the airport when I'm on a work trip. I mean, that's unsad. That's not how we operate.
Well, again, to Chili's point, it wasn't that I would refuse to pick you up because I didn't want to come. It was because you treated me like your servant. Like,
No, you're my partner, man.
Hey Blake, I don't care what you got going. I know you said for me to get with James, but I just didn't, and so this is what I'm gonna be. And he's not bringing me up. You're gonna have to come all the way down here, and it's gonna be at midnight.
That's how. Sometimes, man, that's part of business.
And
dude.
in the end, I said, "Well, whatever you want to do, dummy, I'll come get you." And I just need a little time, and I figured it out. Me and Chili got us a ride, and
yeah.
So that anger that you were describing before, was that everybody? It sounds like everybody was angry.
Everybody except for James. James wasn't angry.
Well, we were all pretty hungry too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we went and crushed a pile of Mexican food. And I drank a whole pint of beer. Me and James drank both a whole pint of beer, ate a massive Mexican plate, and then Blake and Chili drove us straight back to the mountain. And we went straight back up that son of a gun.
He was so drunk he about couldn't even walk. He's stumbling up the darn mountain.
Lightweight.
Look, man. Look, we got out. This to get back up there to where we needed to get is about 6.5 miles and about 6,000 feet of elevation gain. And old James, boy, he took out of there like a bat out of hell. I mean, he took out hot on that trailhead, and I was behind him. And I was thinking the whole time, man, I'm going to have trouble keeping up with this dude. Like, he must be real good, strong with a pack on, James is through hiked the Appalachian Trail, and he's a bigger frame than me. He's probably 6'1", 6'2". I mean, he's 200 pounds. I thought, man, this joker going to make me look like a fool going up here. We got about 1.5 miles into that thing, and that joker started burping. And just, and hey, boy, he started slowing right on down. Then he started saying, if you want to go in front of me and go on up, you can. If you want to go on ahead of me, you can. And I was like, no, I'm good, James. He was like, man, my stomach is killing me. So he went out a little hot, and then we wound it on back down to a manageable pace shortly thereafter. And we won't debrief the mule deer hunt because maybe Blake will make y'all a film out of that.
Me and Chili, we went and hit a lick on that gelato after we eat some fried ice cream.
When did y'all get his travel uniform?
Well, we went back and got it.
Yeah. Yep.
Picked that up.
Man, that gelato was good.
Yeah, we hit a lick on that.
That took me over the brink when I ate that.
So we did some darn intake on after that.
Golly. Yeah, that about pushed me over the edge.
We had 2 fried ice creams and a darn pot of gelato. You got the grande too.
Yeah, well, I don't go in there and get no freaking mini like a friggin'.
Well, when I was in the tattoo shop all day a couple days ago, I ate a whole Little Caesars pizza and a whole gelato and waffle from that ice cream shop you want. And that's what I ate all day.
Like it? Did you like it?
It was good, but I felt like mashed up butthole.
Yeah.
That shop you got the waffle from, they're connected to the place we ate in Utah, right?
Yeah, they actually mentored them or taught them how to make honey cream.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the place
that?
we ate, they used to live in Salt Lake. And
Oh, okay.
What the crap, man?
It's wild.
yeah.
Well, there's your recap from the Alpine mission. If you guys want to train with us, we got a few basic course dates out for next spring, I think.
Yeah.
So,
You gonna be able to train with that token piece?
Oh yeah, this thing will heal up pretty soon. It's not even near finished, but I'll be done by the spring. So if you want to train, those dates are posted on website 37project.com. Go send in your application, and then probably around January, February, I'll send out invites for next year's advanced missions. Y'all can just stand by for those if you you know who you are if you're going to get an invite.
May, June, July is booked up.
That's fine with me.
Booked up.
That's fine with me.
Got it on the calendar.
We hadn't put any out in those months.
Good. That's booked up.
All right, guys. Well,
We need a sponsor for that.
For a run across America?
Yeah.
Yeah, 307 Project will sponsor it.
No, we need outside sponsors. Chili
No.
is 307 Project.
Outside sponsors don't have enough money usually to compensate for the pain in the butt that it becomes.
Donation.
Unless you're HOIST. HOIST is really easy to work with, and they have an awesome product.
Yep.
But that's one reason why we're so selective about sponsorships and partnerships is it becomes a freaking pain in the butt.
Hey, man, don't need no sponsorship if you got an RV.
Yeah. And if you got as much money as you got.
Yeah, well, I'll subsidize it. Just got to run across America, do meetups, meet and greets. We'll do it.
We'll talk about that offline. We love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Enough said. Oh, Krista, thanks for contributing so much to this episode.
You're welcome.